Welcome to Sharkie's Gaming Controllers. I'm Sharkie, and in today's video, I'll be taking a look at the Nyko Type Pad Pro for Nintendo Wii. So first off, I don't actually have the packaging for this controller, but it usually comes in like a blister style packaging. So we're going to go straight into the features of this controller. So this is basically a keyboard style attachment for your WiiMote. So that's the front of it there, and it is a really weird looking controller. Quite a cool and unique design. That's the bottom, the side, the top, other side, and the back. So yeah, a really weird looking thing. Now to connect this to your Wii console, the first thing you need to do is use this little USB receiver. It's quite a plain receiver, but it does have a very unique looking shape to it. This just plugs into the back of your Wii console. So you plug this in, and this will give you about a 25-foot range, so quite a decent range from the console to where you can hold your controller. The next step is to connect the WiiMote. So you can grab any kind of WiiMote, and this just connects to the center hollow bit here. You just align those little sliding plastic grooves there to your WiiMote and slot it into place like that. And as you can see, it changes the shape completely. It looks even more weirder. That's the front there. The bottom, side, the top, other side, and the back. It's just a really crazily unique shape. It almost kind of looks like a spaceship if you turn it on its side like that. Some kind of a sci-fi spaceship. It is really a weird design. But let's go into these features now. So first off, when you power this on, it's going to be using the power from your WiiMote. So the controller itself doesn't have any batteries or anything. So it powers from the batteries inside your WiiMote. And of course, as long as you have that USB receiver in, then the console itself will be able to see this controller. Now, first off, the main feature, of course, is this keyboard in the center here. So this is a QWERTY keyboard, and it's sort of in a split style design. So you've got half the keyboard on one side and half the keyboard on the other side. Now it's got all the standard QWERTY keys, so of course you've got your numbers on the top, going into like symbols, and then of course you've got the QWERTY letters. And you've also got second functions there as well, and things like caps, shift, space, return, delete, etc. Now these keys are usually a bit more whiter. With age they go a bit yellow like you see here. But they're still really nice looking keys. They got a very smooth finish to them, so when you feel the keys, they are very smooth to the touch, and they're very easy to press. Now these keys are quite small though, so you sort of have to use the tip of your finger to sort of press them. If you press them too close together, you may end up pressing two buttons at once, so that is definitely a distinct possibility. Now, this is pretty standard, so if you want to use a key, you just type the letter or the number or the symbol that you want. If you want to use space, you can either use space on this side or this side. You've also got a delete key, which is basically a backspace key when you press that. You've also got this blue key down the bottom here. Now this is like a second function key. So you'll see here some of these keys, like you've got the shift key here has a caps, and there's like a negative, plus, equals. There's all these different symbols here on top of those letters, and a few up top here as well. So if you want to use those, you actually have to press this blue key and that key at the same time. Now you can't hold down the blue key and just press them. You actually have to press them in one go and then let go and then do it again. If you held down this and then pressed X, for instance, you would get a plus sign the first time, but then you would go back and get X again. So you actually have to release this key and then press it again to make sure that second function triggers. But you can do that with all these keys, all the top keys here, and the top there as well. And likewise with the shift key, if you want to hold that, then of course all the keys will go to capitals. If you want a permanent caps lock, then you'll have to use this key and this together, like I mentioned before, and that'll actually make everything caps. So it's very easy to use. You just got to work out how long to press it, especially with this blue key. Everything else is pretty straightforward. You just press it once and it works just like a regular key. Same with space. You've got the return down the middle here. You've got the @ button and .com. So of course, these of course make it very easy for messaging and using the Wii browser. Now on the bottom here, you've got an AB and a BA toggle switch. This is actually to tell the controller what to use on these triggers. So you've got two triggers on the back here, and depending on how you've got the toggle, it's either going to be A or B, basically using as WiiMote buttons. Now the one thing you need to be aware of is that you actually require the Nyko wand WiiMote. So in the center here, of course, I've just got a standard WiiMote, but if you want to use these trigger functions, because basically they use the A button and the B button of the WiiMote, you need the special WiiMote designed by Nyko. And this basically WiiMote has a special interface called the transport technology, which allows the triggers to work as WiiMote buttons. So if you plug a normal WiiMote, then you can't use the triggers, but if you plug the Nyko one, then you can use the triggers. You just set which way you want to go, either A on this side or B and A. You set that up and then you can start using these triggers. Now the triggers are quite comfortable to use. They feel quite nice to push down. They do have like a rubberized grip on them. It's like a very textured rubberized grip on them. It's quite a nice grip. Now this rubber can get a bit sticky sometimes, so it may need a clean every now and then. But other than that, it does feel quite comfortable to use and to press. And of course you have this grip on the back here that you hold sort of like that. You can reach the triggers, and that just gives you a very comfortable grip so that when you're using this controller, you can sort of use both sides of the keyboard. Now it is comfortable, but it does take a little bit to get used to, especially with these keys. You sort of got to learn to press them in the center and try not to hit multiple buttons, because like I mentioned before, these keys are actually quite small and it's incredibly easy to press multiple buttons at once. But everything is accessible. Your space, return, you can access on both sides. Your delete, second function. Although second function, you probably will need to use two fingers like that to trigger those functions. Now you can reach everything quite easily, like I can easily stretch up the top here. It is a bit of a stretch, but you can still do it. And of course down the bottom here as well. Probably the most uncomfortable ones is these bottom corners here. It's just if you're holding it fully with the grips, you have to stretch your hands a bit back to reach them. Now this keyboard controller can't be used with games really, because you can't really plug the nunchuck in, because of course the WiiMote is plugged into this, and you can't use this controller without having the WiiMote there, because it does require that power that it gets from the WiiMote. So realistically, this is sort of more used for your Wii browser, messaging friends, for instance, maybe even typing in a game code. All these things are very handy, and it's way better to use something like this than the on-screen keyboard. It's just far more comfortable and easy to use. Like I say, it does take a bit to get used to, and that's probably the thing, working out where the keys are, and like I said, just trying not to press keys accidentally, because with these small keys it is incredibly easy, especially if you have bigger hands. But it is very comfortable to use though, and it's incredibly handy. Way better than an on-screen keyboard for sure. But yeah, it's a very handy keyboard controller, and it works incredibly well. I really like it, and the unique shape just really adds to it, I think. I mean, just look at this thing. It looks incredibly weird. Overall, I think this is a very good keyboard style controller for the Wii. It's incredibly unique in terms of its weird shape and design. I mean, just look at this thing. It is incredibly unusual. It is a really cool shape. And this thing, it definitely works as intended. If you want a keyboard to use with the Wii, then this does exactly that. And it's way better than using the on-screen keyboard. It just feels so much better to actually have physical keys, and of course, if you can get used to the shape and the layout, then you'll be typing way faster than you can on the actual on-screen keyboard. Now this thing does take a while to get used to, basically due more so to the size of the keys and sort of its split layout. But if you can avoid those accidental multiple key presses, then you should be away in no time. Another thing is that Nyko wand is required to use the full functionality of this controller. So if you've just got a standard WiiMote, or you've got another third-party WiiMote, then you won't be able to use those triggers. You need to be able to buy that Nyko wand to use the full functionality of this controller. But that's something optional. You don't have to if you don't really need the triggers, because you can still use all the WiiMote functionality. So it's purely optional. If the triggers is something you absolutely want to use, then definitely go ahead and buy the Nyko Wand WiiMote to use with this controller. I personally think that this is a very interesting controller. It's incredibly unique. I mean, just look at it. It looks so interesting. And I mean, if you turn on the side again, it kind of looks like a spaceship. It is just really a weird, strange, and very unique looking controller. I think it looks really cool. And while this thing is probably not useful in today's standard, like if you're still using the Wii and playing games on it, you're probably playing games, you're probably not using the browser or typing messages to friends, so this is probably not particularly useful to play on the Wii today, but it's definitely unique enough that I think it would make a great addition to a collection. It's just so unusual. It's really a collector's piece now. Anyway guys, that was the Nyko Type Pad Pro for Nintendo Wii. I hope you liked this video. If you did, then please hit that like button, as it really helps out a lot. Feel free to subscribe, as I'll have heaps more gaming controllers up very shortly. While you're there, hit that notification button and share this video with your friends. And if you would like to support my channel, then go ahead and click the join button down below and become a channel member. You'll get extra monthly perks, and the extra support really helps me out a lot. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.